I'm really excited because I created this new picture that I love just a few days ago, and I did want to apologize for being a little absent from my YouTube channel. My dad is in a coma right now after having a crazy brain surgery, so things have been a little hectic and I've been preoccupied. But to get back to this tutorial, so I wanted to show the before and after edits side by side. And I really wanted the concept to just be about the passing of time, waiting for time to pass. It's sort of a tribute to my father as I'm waiting for him to wake up in this moment. And as you can see, I clean up the walls first, and then I added a different picture into the wall of mountains, and then I added the hourglass sand time thing, which is actually just a very small miniature toy that I purchased, I think from Michael's for like $1, $2, and I've been wanting to use it for the longest time, but I thought it was too small, but it actually worked perfectly in this case. And the first step in this Photoshop process is go to Image, Canvas Size, so that I can create the image into a perfect square. But obviously I have all this white space, so I want to cover up the white space. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the clone tool and the brush tool and just fill in that white space. I'm going to select the color of the wall and use the brush tool to fill in the white space with that same color that we selected. And I'm just using the clone tool, getting rid of all the elements in the background. I still have a big patch of white space that I want to fill up, so I'm going to go to a different picture where I had nothing in the shot except for the ground and everything surrounding it, and I'm just going to copy and paste the ground onto the main image, just a little portion of it. And then I'm going to duplicate that layer and move that second layer behind the first one and then blend them together, and then do the same thing and duplicate the layer again. And now I'm going in with a spot removal tool to get rid of the wire and the suitcase and just all the little stuff in the background. I'm sorry, my apartment was a little messy, especially because I had to rearrange some furniture just to have enough space for me to sit against the wall, so it got a little messy. I'm sorry about that. And for the miniature hourglass, I had to take a picture of it on its side horizontally because I wanted the grains of sand to look like it was falling, and the only way to do that was to take it horizontally and then flip it 90 degrees on Photoshop, and now it looks like the grain of sand is falling, and you never would have guessed initially, I don't think, that I just photographed it on its side. And if you're wondering how I made the hourglass much larger on Photoshop, I transformed it. So once I had the layer on the main image of the hourglass, I hit Command T on my Mac keyboard and stretched out the sides of the layer so that it became a lot larger. And now I'm using the polygonal selection tool to create a selection where I want to erase from the layer of the hourglass. So now that it's selected and you can see the marching ants, I'm going to use a very soft brush, a paintbrush, and paint away with black over top so that you can see the background and that the wall starts to show through. And I'm also going to erase a little bit on the glass to make the glass a little bit more transparent. So I'm using 50% flow and opacity, around 50%. And I'm just erasing away on the glass to keep the background in a little bit more. And I'm doing the same thing on the other side of the hourglass using the polygonal selection tool to create a selection right directly where we want to erase away from. And then I'm just going to erase away that little detail of the pole of the hourglass going over my hand, so it looks like I'm actually grabbing the pole versus it being over my hand. And I'm just using a paintbrush tool with black over white paint to paint away. If I wanted to paint back in, if I made a mistake, I would hit X on my computer and bring up white over black paint. The next step is to bring up curves on the hourglass sand layer and brighten it up a bit just to match up the tones a little bit more with the main image. And then I'm going to use a brush tool of flying hair and just brush that onto the main picture. Those are free brushes, hair brushes, so many types of brushes that you can download online for free. And to make it look more realistic, like the hourglass is actually in my apartment, I'm going to use the paintbrush tool with black paint with 10% opacity, 100% flow, and I'm just going to paint in the shadow on a background copy layer. And I'm clicking that layer on and off so you can see the difference. And now I'm bringing in a separate picture that I'm going to use for the wallpaper that I got from a stock photo. I paid $10 for this picture, and I'm going to change the blending mode to overlay, which is normally the blending mode I would use for wallpaper. And then this is a little bit of a tedious task, but I'm going to create my layer mask on the layer of the wallpaper and erase away on all the parts of the picture where we don't want the wallpaper to appear. So obviously we don't want the wallpaper on the hourglass, on parts of the window, on my body, on my dress. So I'm just going to erase away with black paint using the paintbrush tool, and I'm just going to keep erasing away till I get it the way that I want it to look. Now that the entire composite and picture is basically in place, I'm going to head to VSCO, which is in my Lightroom, and I'm going to try different actions and see which action works best, the color action. And then I found one that I like, but it's a little dark, so I'm going to raise the darks. And this is before VSCO, this is before VSCO, and this is after VSCO. So before VSCO, after VSCO. So you can see VSCO makes a big difference. And then I'm going to go in with my curves layer, my curves tool, and just add a couple curved layers. And I also added a shadow against the wall from the hourglass, which I only did by creating a second layer of the hourglass and then dropping a shadow by checking the box. I actually do have the next 2 weeks off from work, so I think it's a perfect opportunity to really get back into photography and continue with my YouTube channel because I really love connecting with all you guys. I know it's a small community, but it means a lot to me and it's so much fun. So thank you so much for watching this tutorial, and I'll see you guys next time.